Welcome to the Allen Show. So I have a question for you. Do you miss Orllen News? There hasn't been a new episode of Orllen News in over a year, apparently. But yeah, here's a new episode of Orllen News that was just recorded. Welcome to Orllen News. My voice is kind of not Orllen-y anymore, but I'm still Orllen, alright? So it's been over a year since I've made the most recent episode of Orllen News, the one before this one. All the way back in February 2020. I almost said 2021 because I forgot last year ever happened, but, so a lot has happened in this past year, and I thought since I haven't had an Orllen News episode since last February, over a year ago, I might as well have the next episode of Orllen News be about what's happened over the past year. Alan already did an episode of The Allen Show for the start of Season 6 as a recap episode of the 4 years before that. Well, 5 almost, pretty much, because it goes back to 2015. But anyway, let's just talk about what's happened since last February, or at least the most important things, and the most important things related to us in the Allen group and all this stuff. So let's see, March, the beginning of March, like the first week or something of March last year, Alan met a version of himself from another dimension. The other version of him was called Nella, because he was from a backwards dimension where all the people there speak Silny, which is English backwards, and they say the sentences in the same order as we do, but with each word flipped backwards. So that's kind of a cool little thing. Then a month later, at the start of April, Nella, along with his dimension, was erased from existence permanently until Alan went back in time on his time bike and stopped it from happening. And he also closed all the gateways between that dimension and this dimension so that it wouldn't happen again and both dimensions would be safe. So then 4 months later, in August, on August 7th, 2020, Alan met Chad's brother. If you don't know who Chad is, go watch the first 5 seasons, why don't you? But yeah, Chad, his real name, we found out, is Mike, and his brother's name is Ben, and his brother doesn't have a puppet name, so we just call him Ben. And then after Chad explained all the past about that, you can go back and watch the episode if you want all the information, but after Chad explained all this, Ben was taken control of by the same evil ghost that took control of Belen the year before. And then they had to fight Chad's brother that he hadn't seen in 5 years. After Alan and Chad won the fight against the evil ghost, they kept him in the same part of Owen's workshop that Barkman used to be kept in back in 2017 whenever we would capture him for being evil. You know, the guy with the dog mask who's just like a clone of Alan. I don't know the whole story. Go watch the recap episode. This is just for the past year. Later that month, Orllen, a member of this group, who had been seeing visions into the future for almost 2 years up to that point, decided to leave the Allen group to live on his own for that reason. Because he was seeing as far as this year, like up to this point, and he didn't like it, so he moved away. So, that happened. Anyway, after that, months later, 4 months later, in December, Barkman, you know, the guy with the dog mask and everything, now he's from a different timeline now. He's, like, from a different timeline instead of a different dimension, because when the one from the other dimension was erased from existence to save this timeline, he brought another Barkman from another timeline and brought him to this timeline. And apparently, the other Barkman doesn't like being in a different timeline. He found out, and apparently if he finds out, then this dimension, this timeline, I get it confused all the time when I'm thinking about it. This timeline was in danger of being erased from existence, and when he found out, the only choice was either to erase him from existence, erase his memory, or get him back to his timeline. Alan and Orllen tried to send him back to his timeline, and his timeline was erased from existence. You can go watch that episode that has all the footage of it to find out how that happened. But basically, it was just erased from existence. But Barkman was safe because he stayed here, and Alan was accidentally sent there instead of him. Which is a situation that could have completely been avoided if they would have just, I don't know. But anyway, after that, they erased Barkman's memory and stuff so that they could have more time to figure out what to do next. A month later, on January 6th this year, Barkman found out again by watching Alan's videos. The videos that show everything that happened in the whole incident. And understandably so, Barkman was angry. And then, what happened next? I'm doing this unscripted. It's news, but I don't care. Barkman, they made him a part of this timeline, and he didn't want that to happen because he was still angry about his home being erased from existence twice over the course of 5 years. But, you know, whatever. They made him part of this timeline, and that's pretty much all that's happened in that situation since. I think I said the word situation correctly. And yeah, hopefully the audio wasn't too bad. Hopefully the video wasn't too bad. Hopefully you heard my voice and just understand what's been going on. If you don't understand, then yeah, I understand. This is a very weird thing, all this magic. I barely understand it, and I'm the person who explains it all. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's happened, related to everything that's been going on. Welcome back to Orllen News. And I'll see you in the next episode of Orllen News. Goodbye. See you later. So, how was the episode of Orllen News? This episode of the Allen Show is just an episode of Orllen News with an intro and outro around it. But yeah, hopefully the next episode will be more interesting. In the next episode, the Allen Group and I are going to go to the meeting room dimension to think of ideas for episodes of the Allen Show. But yeah, for now, I'll see you next time.